we had talked about this back when they had first announced kind of what was going to be happening without, I think, a ton of details. And the fear was that they would look at the Krakoan Age as an outlier, or they would look at it and say, well, you can't do another huge change. You've got to kind of reset it for a while, and you can maybe do a huge change in a few years. And that's kind of what this feels like.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Eyes to approve, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. It gets hard and it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Del Bush.
Dal.
Del.
W. Dal Bush.
Of all the things our wonderful, technologically advanced, and let's just say comfortable podcastatorium it is, the one thing it isn't is completely soundproof.
Yeah, you'd think that would be step one, but we just really wanted that Olympic-sized pool. As well as the multiple kitchens and kitchen staffs. I don't like the idea of, my Mexican dishes and my Italian dishes being made in the same kitchen. I want them
by
to be
the same
separate
people.
Yeah, separate kitchens, separate staffs. And then when there was money left over, it was like, let's work on soundproofing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously there was a little bit less in the bank, but I like swimming on a full stomach. And that's, I think, if that's clear.
See, that's the weird thing. The Olympic-sized pool is such a waste because, number one, you don't care about the Olympics. And number two...
I just like telling people it's Olympic size.
Sure. Number two, I can't swim anymore.
Can you float like on like a raft?
Floating is worse because I'm not in control of the direction.
What if you could stand in the pool, like touching the bottom? Like not obviously the Olympic-sized pool because it's like a lap pool. Like I don't know if that's...
Yeah, the Olympic-sized pool, the water pressure is too much and it triggers vertigo.
Okay.
Even a small pool.
Well, that's why we have all the kitchens.
So I can sit in the sinks?
Sure.
What if it's the sink that they're preparing your Italian food in?
We have different kitchens.
Right, but what if...
No, I have multiple Italian kitchens. It's fine.
Oh. I only have one. Well, I guess if you count Lago. It's the second one. So anyway, we couldn't record last night because it was too fireworky.
Yeah, 4th of July.
And then when we get to the podcastatorium today, the landscapers are working with all of their
landscaping,
very loud machinery. And it's amazing to me how they do like this part of the parkway, the front lawn, the side part of the side parkway, the front parkway,
also
the rest of the front lawn.
It's Chicago. It's mostly just dead grass outside.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're cutting.
Like, we don't have a large lawn at the podcastatorium.
Nope.
And it's also a Friday evening.
Yeah.
It is
it's weird.
After mowing hours.
I feel like you normally do that like on a weekend, right? Like,
sure.
Isn't it usually?
Or,
I don't know.
In the morning. Maybe they're trying to take advantage of the cooler setting sun.
Maybe.
Just didn't expect it.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention. We don't.
I have no idea where I would even be notified about when the landscaping was going to happen.
You just sign the checks. That's it.
There's never been like a sign up anywhere or an email regarding maintenance times.
You know where there are signs up and emails? Thank you for that segue.
You're welcome, Patrick. Where?
Well, I was going to say challengers, but there's been no emails about this. But there are signs up. More importantly, they are not so much signs as little golden plaques that are adhered to bookshelves and bookcases
via magnetry
in Challengers itself, because our shelf sponsorship is live.
You haven't put it in the emails?
Nope, totally forgot.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
I mean, I told Molly today that we
Maybe
both need
next
to do
week.
it next week. Yeah, I know. I also forgot to mention we're still open on the 4th of July.
Oh, yeah.
Not putting that in next week's, though.
No? Okay.
Yeah. Did you put it in the catalog email?
I did not put it in the catalog email, no.
Just saying, all of us have sent out emails. None of us have mentioned it.
sent it out on the Tuesday night email to all of our subscribers that got books this week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I didn't even see that part.
Thanks for reading the email.
I did. I scrolled down to see what I was getting.
Glad I'm always putting stuff at the top of the emails, letting people know any pertinent information that's happening Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Look, I noticed the Challenger's Choice on the website every week,
Yeah, I always change it.
and we're still not the best superhero burger.
I haven't thought of anything new yet.
Maybe
I'm sure something will come to me.
Maybe it will. Maybe it'll come to you right now.
I mean, frequently it's something that we're talking about on the podcast where I'm like, oh, I'll just throw that up like Saturday or something. So it's kind of a non sequitur. And then on Sunday, anyone who's listening to the podcast is like, oh, I get that joke.
Well, what's not a joke, Dal, is our shelf sponsorship, which is active, and I
Active
believe it's
indeed.
on the front page of the website.
Sure is, yeah. It's just beneath the New This Week items and just above the Spotlight section.
We have already sent out to the engravers the first batch, the very healthy first batch of sponsorship plaques.
Yep.
Thank you to the multiples of people. I
Yeah.
was going to say dozens. It's not quite dozens.
Yeah, it's close. So anybody who got a sponsorship, they'll be getting an email when we get them in of like an image of what your plaque looks like, and then what it looks like kind of up on the shelf. And then I assume we'll probably do something on social media for like a little video of everybody that we put up, just to say like, hey, here's the first sponsorships. Like they're up. Like if you want to join this, there's still opportunities.
There are definitely still opportunities. More opportunities all the time because we are figuring out ways to work in other aspects of the store.
Yeah, and to expand the sections that were currently sold out, or at least selling out. Some of them are sold out. Some of them are selling out.
I wonder, and I would hope not, but I wonder if there's ever a situation where someone's like, well, I wanted to sponsor horror, so I'm not going to do it.
It's possible.
Let's just say there's plenty of manga still open.
There are. It's true. Yeah.
So let's recap, Dal. What do you get?
So I'm going to pull up the listing on the website because I don't want to.
Ooh, it's going to be official and authoritative.
Yeah. I certainly, for what we're charging people, I don't want to misconstrue what the benefits are. I'd like it to be as accurate as possible.
Number one, Pride, which, of course, you cannot put a dollar amount on.
Shelf sponsorships now available right there on the website.
Look at that.
You can go to it. With the shelf sponsorships, you'll get your name or the name of your choice on a 1.5 inch by 4 inch golden plaque affixed to the top of a large red Challenger's bookcase. You can choose your sponsored genre if you'd like: superhero, manga, sci-fi, fantasy, horror, crime, young adult, while supplies last, or leave it up to us to decide. In that vein, horror is currently sold out. We have still opportunities left for manga, superhero, sci-fi, fantasy, crime, mystery, young adult.
And we're also going to add Dungeons and Dragons, or I guess
games
as a whole. And I was going to say we're going to add humor, but I think Ryan Brown has claimed that entire shelf.
Just the whole thing? Okay. So it's $124.99, and that's a sponsorship for 5 years. And as we've mentioned on previous podcasts, funds from your sponsorship will go towards ongoing improvements at Challengers, such as new lighting for the shop, new bookshelves for sidekicks, and other refurbishment.
Seeing the word refurbishment always makes you think of refreshment. And it's like, oh, I'd like to go to a refurbishment stand, please.
Maybe we can...
a nice cold glass of lemonade to be refurbished.
Maybe at a certain level of sponsorship, we can just have a recurring bag of Chiclets gum fund. So you can keep just refreshing yourself with that off of Amazon.
As much as I do eat that gum, it does not refresh me. It usually tires me out some.
It tires
and
you
hurts
out?
my jaw.
Tires you out.
Well, I have a very specific routine of
Stop
how I
wearing
enjoy that
sleepy
gum, and I, in fact, will not be discussing it. So, with the people, the very generous people that have already sponsored, I wanted to immediately start working on the number one highest priority. Let's get this taken care of on my to-do list from the sponsorship, which would be the lighting in the store.
Yeah, especially because it's also started making noise now.
Yeah,
and that's annoying.
Yeah, so
you can't hear it as much in the summertime because of the HVAC running, but when the HVAC isn't running, you can definitely hear it.
Yeah, we're not going to tell people where, so they don't go looking for it.
Nope.
Or listening for it.
Notice I didn't.
Maybe. So we had a line on a very well recommended electrician after all the events of last year.
His name was Sparky.
that went wrong with the electrician that I will happily flame online anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only not saying his name now because I don't remember it. I want to say it was Paul something.
I guess just look online.
Yeah. But anyway, I reached out to him. He got back to me immediately to say that, and I name checked the people that recommended him. He's like, that's so great that these people recommended me. That's something I can absolutely do. Not a problem at all. However, I'm pretty booked right now, and I would have to put you on a wait list till next year.
Which, for those looking at a calendar, means about 6 months. For something that we've needed done for like several years.
And he did say that because he's a one-person guy, job company.
One-person guy job company, yeah.
Maker. That there are companies that do that like more full-time and take advantage of ComEd rebates and would be cheaper. I didn't have the heart to say, can you tell me those names?
Yeah. Who exactly?
But I've
would
already
you
reached
recommend?
out to 2 more electricians.
Uh-huh.
And thanks to the write-up I made for Carmine, was his name. Carmine, the good guy is Carmine.
Okay.
Thanks to the write-up for Carmine, I could just cut and paste that to the other
Sure.
electricians I
Handy.
reached out to. However, that was Wednesday. Due to it, I think, being a holiday weekend, no
I'd
one's gotten back to
assume,
me.
yeah.
No one's gotten back to me. And I reached out to our tote bag company today to say, hey,
Totes my goats.
can we just duplicate that last order? And I've not heard back either. Of course,
Okay.
it was the Friday after 4th of July.
So I took the sign down because I needed to use that spot.
I know.
So the sign is just inside, the box where we have the covering for the front table and like my placemat?
You mean the box where the tote bags used to go?
Yeah, that's where I put
Yeah.
the sign.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad you saved it.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it won't be accurate.
Okay. Well, if it is, that's where the sign is.
So we found out that we got new business cards this week. And when I say new business cards, I mean more business cards, not new business cards. We are still very happy with our Andy Bell design business cards.
Are the hours correct on it?
Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, they're not different. It's the same card, the same layout, the same design.
Okay. I just, at one point, the hours were incorrect on that because they were
Well, I mean, they're
They were-
technically correct.
till 5.
They're just not completely accurate. We are open until 5.
Okay, but we're open until 6.
Right, but we're open. But, you can still go to 5. Till 5.
Okay.
Right. So, okay. Yes, if you want to get specific, I did change the hour.
Uh-huh.
But it's the same quantity, the same stock, the same images.
Okay.
I
I mean, that's totally fine. The only thing that needed updating on that card were our hours had changed since the last time we had produced those cards.
right, and add Wednesdays till 7.
Yeah, sure.
Just lessens the way I tell the story.
Oh, sorry.
Normally I just say we were just reordering.
Right.
But technically we weren't. We were ordering new cards because
Sure.
they are slightly the most minutest of differences
Right.
different. Anyway, and that shouldn't matter at all.
Shouldn't.
It was $48 the last time we got these cards. And this time, any guesses, listener? No? No guesses? No?
Not
Are
a
you
single
guessing?
guess. That's so weird.
Wow.
Like, I mean, just think of a number. Just say the number.
Now, you just say a number.
$96.
That's a high number, but you're not too far off. $83.
Wow.
From 46.
It's nearly
what did I
twice
say,
as
48?
expensive.
Yeah. It was
That's why I just doubled it in my head. It was
an
$96.
eye-opener to be like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is a dramatic change. So I only imagine...
Were they shipping each business card in its own individual box? That's why it costs
You
so
know,
much.
I always do have a problem with the way this printing company charges for shipping.
Mhm.
Like, their printing prices are great and their shipping is terrible,
Yeah.
especially when you order... Like, if I'd ordered 2 different two different bookmarks,
Mhm.
they still charge you the maximum shipping for each one. They don't combine anything.
It's crazy.
Do you remember that one time we got the first order of all the window prints we got?
Yeah.
They sent them in the 10 separate boxes.
Yeah.
Like, you could have fit all of these into one box.
Yep.
You didn't combine them.
Nope.
And when I called the complaint, they're like, it would have been the same if we put it all in one box.
How is that possible?
Okay. Still do it in one box. Save us from having to open 9 extra boxes
Yeah.
and recycle 9 extra boxes. No, they don't do it that way.
Okay, great. Thanks. Super cool.
Needless to say, we don't get window prints from them anymore.
That's true.
But we still do bookmarks and business cards
Mhm.
and Christmas cards. Oh, I keep meaning to talk to you about the Christmas card.
Okay.
I've known for a while what I want the quote-unquote subscribe. Why is that? That shadow just keeps leaning in.
Just
So weird.
leaves on a tree.
I've known for a while what I wanted the subscriber quote-unquote gift to be this year,
I assumed.
but it's a stretch.
Okay.
It is, well, look. The seeds was a great idea and comic themed.
Yeah, it was cute.
The coaster, not really comic themed.
No.
But I've had an idea, and because we're limited to what we can fit in a flat envelope to all the people that get a card mailed to them,
Yes.
there has to be size constraints. So I've had this
Coupon
idea
for a free hug from Dal.
Yeah, but then no one is ever going to be able to redeem that.
They're never going to be able to redeem it?
You won't.
If they got a coupon, if it was officially sanctioned by challengers, I would have no choice.
I am giving out so many officially sanctioned challengers
Sure.
coupons. That's a terrible picture. Can you tell what that is?
No. Oh, okay. That's cool.
You okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
And everybody would get a couple. Not just one.
Okay. I think one's fine.
You do?
I don't think people
know.
need a couple.
Well, we'll see. But I think I found the place that can manufacture them.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't understand is that there's different thicknesses you can get.
Okay.
There's 3 different thicknesses, but when changing the thickness, it doesn't change the price.
Huh.
I'm like, oh, huh. And this came from talking with Greg Titus last year
Yeah.
about one of his suggestions for that card.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, but why don't we hold that one till next year?
Oh, okay.
And then it would be more of a theme to the card.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I don't quite have the interior message pun.
I mean, the main thing I would suggest with the interior space for the card is creating a little space where like it can be taped down to.
See, I thought
so,
about
like, there so that can be part of the motif. So it's not just words; it would be like something that would sort of incorporate, "Hey, this thing has been taped down."
I thought about doing a curved slit.
I mean, you can. I just don't think that's necessary. I think
Yeah.
a piece of tape is fine.
Also, it's way more work to cut into the card.
Yeah,
Also, I don't know that I want to tape them all down.
I mean, I think we should.
Yeah.
I just, especially because if people are going to open the card, you don't want it falling out. You don't want it left in the envelope. You don't want.
Oh, what if we?
Like, the number of people who will probably open it and have it fall without them even realizing it fell is going to be a double-digit number.
Yeah, but so what if we print an image of it where it would be taped down, just in case it shifts or moves or something? Like incorporate that into the design in the middle.
And still tape it down, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
In theory.
Yeah, that works. Because that way, when you take it off, it'll still, the image of the card will still work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that works. Yeah. Also, it would help because if there's going to be people, employees, myself, having to tape it down, it'd be nice to know, like, where is this supposed to go? Like,
But
what is the
it
spot?
probably won't be because I do all these from home.
I feel
and-
like anything gift-oriented, it's like we should probably prep those at the store, and then you just take them home when
But
they're
I'm worried
ready to go.
about when I'm writing things out if I just mess
Okay.
it up with my hand.
We'll see.
What I need more from you though is using, like I have just a general idea of thanks for being challengers.
Mm-hmm. I get it. That's good.
But I mean, I assume you can come up with something better.
No, I think it's good.
Okay.
First thought, best thought. It's good.
My first thought was people send us lots and lots of money for Christmas.
I mean, put that in the card.
Look, I know it's only July, but I've heard that shelf sponsorships are really great Christmas gifts.
They really are. We've had a few people who have bought sponsorships for other people.
Yeah.
Other people in their lives, which is pretty cool.
And there have been people on social media who said, hey, my birthday's coming up.
Yeah.
Why don't you sponsor me a manga shelf?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, there you go.
What a great idea.
Yeah.
I did not plan on talking about Christmas in this episode.
Okay.
I mean, I'm the one who brought it up.
Christmas
so.
in July.
It's now time to thank our Patreon supporters, including our annual patrons, Usi Arun Singh, Becca Hilburn and Joseph Coco, Bren Helt, Dal's mom Diane Bush, President of the Brian Garside Fan Club, Django Boren, Philip Sablik from Boom Studios, Jose and Genevieve Villagomez, Josh Crowley of Westfield Comics, our bestest wrestling watching pal, Michael Lee, Michael Romanenko, our patrons who have created their own tier, Andrew Drew Troy Aaliyah, Bridget K. Neville, Chris Burton, Claudine Neville, our other generous patrons from the Say My Name pledge level, Ben-Hur Benedict Calaguas, Brad Brooks, Manage Comics Own, Brian Garside, Christopher Haith of Crooked Dog Comics, Drew Triner and Ashley Edwards, my brother George Brower, Heidi D., Holly Aitchison, Jacob Sorelli of Kamikaze, Josh Trigg, Mark Hammond of Aw Yeah Comics, Margie, Keith, Logan, and Malcolm Springham, Matt Armstrong, Mitchell Davies of All-Star Comics in Melbourne, Australia, Morgan Dynamite Perry, Nicholas Fenner, my longtime pal Robert Burns, Ron Payne, Sean Bowers, Tad Eggleston and Johnny Williams, Thomas Nagovin of Century Guild, Walt Grogan, Walt's Comic Shop from Berlin, Germany. And if you want to hear your name thanked on this very podcast once a month, head over to patreon.com/challengers and pledge at the $5 Say My Name level. And a big thank you to all our other patrons at the various other pledge levels. So now, the rest of my notes are about all of the comics I've read this week.
Okay.
Books that haven't come out yet.
Sure.
But I didn't know if there's more industry-based news you wanted to discuss, because I know you always have your ear to the
ear to the pulse, finger to the pavement. As you might imagine, it's been a remarkably slow last few days in comics industry news because it's a holiday weekend, so no one's really announcing anything.
But this is when like people would mass layoff, and
yeah, nothing I heard.
I know we're just treading water until San Diego.
Basically, yeah. Like everything that's been coming out has been like, here are the signing schedules for San Diego. Here are the exclusives we're doing in San Diego.
I saw the list of.
There are panels for San Diego.
I can't remember the number now. I want to say it was 28, but I saw the list of Eisner Award stores.
Yeah.
That are like the final. Not the finalists, but like the ballot.
Sure, the short list. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 28 stores.
Okay, that's great.
A lot of repeats,
mm-hmm.
but also a lot of like brand new stores.
Sure.
I can't ever remember Comics Experience being on the list before.
I don't know. I mean, I want to say I assume they had been a finalist or at least on the short list before, but I don't keep track.
Yeah. To the best of my knowledge, there's no Chicago stores.
That's too bad.
What I can remember. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we jump right in?
Let's do it.
With a new number one that we've both read.
Yes.
That is changing the scope of the way people consider comics.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm quickly looking at my notes to bring up a joke.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Epitaphs from the Abyss, number one.
Oh, the EC horror anthology.
Yeah.
Coming out from Oni.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I didn't read that.
Yeah, I know. I did.
Was it good?
I read it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm interested because there's Hello Darkness, but every time I tried to open that PDF, it wouldn't open right. And that's the Boom Studios.
Yeah, the like $7 or $8 horror anthology with it's got
Garth Ennis and Becky Cloonan
stuff in it. I don't remember.
But so that one I haven't read. So I read the EC Epitaphs from the Abyss one.
Mm-hmm.
And it is
so they're doing Oni's doing two different EC anthologies. One is Epitaphs, which is I think the horror one, and then they're also doing like a sci-fi one that I don't remember what the name
Cruel
is.
Universe or something.
Sure.
I did not get a chance to read that one. No, of course, what I meant to say, and when I said a book that we both read, of course, what I meant was Dark Knights of Steel All Winter #1.
I didn't read that. Was it good?
Well, it's the Dark Knights of Steel. We all remember that, right? The Tom
do.
Taylor book and the
Yasmin Putri?
that one.
And another artist who filled in a little bit in the middle.
Did Ben Gal do an issue?
I'm sorry?
Didn't Ben Gal do an issue?
I know there was like one or two
Yeah.
issues in the middle where somebody else
Like
had
issue
to
4.
spell Yasmin Putri, but I don't remember who it was.
It's written by a very well-known science fiction or fantasy author who I don't know because I'm not into those reading genres.
It's got a Tom Taylor backup, right?
Yeah, it does, and that's the thing. Like, because it was said, it's like, oh, it's written by this person and Tom Taylor, but it's 2 stories, and the Tom Taylor story is very short.
I assume.
The main story,
the Tom Taylor backup very much feels like a anxious, sweaty DC going, so you guys cared about Tom Taylor a whole lot for 12 issues, and you don't know who this other person is, and you don't really care about the world unless it's Tom Taylor shepherding it, so he's on this, don't worry.
like the new upcoming DC vs. Vampires, whatever it's called.
World War V?
Yeah, okay. I want to say All Out War, but that was a different one. That's written by Matthew Rosenberg and drawn by Otto Schmidt. It's a direct sequel.
Yeah, it is the sequel to that series.
As opposed to the
creative team.
miniseries that were coming out around the same time and the one-shots. This is so that one I'm actually excited for. This one it's Deathstroke and Vandal Savage, and it's also mainly black and white for story reasons.
Okay.
So look, obviously I'm talking about X-Men #1.
Hey, let's talk about X-Men #1 by Jed MacKay and
From
Ryan
the
Stegman.
Ashes starts here.
From the Ashes. You and I had read it independently. We both briefly talked about it, I think, about a day ago. My overall take on it is that if you exclude the Krakoan Age of Comics, the entire 4 years from the release of House of X #1 to the release of X-Men #35, take that out of the equation, and this is a very solid, very standard Marvel #1. This is no different in almost every way than like a new Daredevil book where Daredevil gets a new job, or a new Spider-Man book where Spider-Man's got a new girlfriend, or any of the normal ones where it's like, hey, it's a back to basics approach, cast is slightly different, whatever, but like the tone of it is very right down the middle, exactly what you think it is. Standard Marvel approach. Executed well or badly depending on the creative team, but the editorial approach is very coloring in between the lines. The problem is we had the last 4 years of the Krakoan Age, which got people very excited because it fundamentally changed the assumptions about what an X-Men comic was or could be. So to go away from that and just do what's basically Spider-Man got a new job, it feels in every way underwhelming. It's good though. It is a good book. It is. I thought it was, despite not liking Ryan Stegman's art at all, it was a book that I'm like, yeah, I could read this every month. I think this is a solid cast. I think this is a fun, if limited, take on an X-Men comic book. Patrick, did you have a different experience?
Well, what I want to say out from the outright is I really think Jed MacKay got their voices. Like, I feel like the characters that were talking were those characters. You know?
Yeah, I know that, honestly, the Hickman era, I think there were people who had some complaints about characters not sounding like they traditionally sounded like, having slightly different takes on their characters to fit what the story needs were. This feels like it's built more from, like, the Hickman stuff was very top-down idea, and then the characters to fit that idea.
Yeah.
This is very, like, character up, where you're starting with, like, who are the characters, what are we doing, and then what is the story that we can tell with them? What is the world that they would exist in? What would their view be on everything that's happening? So the characters that are picked feel very like who Jed MacKay likes, in the same way that when Hickman was on, like, Avengers, he's like, I'm going to put Sunspot and Cannonball on there because I like Sunspot and Cannonball, and
Sure.
why not?
Well, you should.
Yeah, this cast is very like, I'm going to pick these characters from the Wolverine and the X-Men run by Jason Aaron because I like that. I'm going to pick this character from the Grant Morrison run because I really like that. I'm going to pick these characters from other eras because I think they're fun. Like it has that feel to it.
It's funny, and this is a quick digression, but when discussing the upcoming Exceptional X-Men with
Chicago's
people,
own.
that's right. One of the things I said is that I'm never really that excited for books about brand new mutant students.
Okay.
Because we've done that so often and we never follow up with those students.
Yeah.
Somebody else, like the next person, like, I'm going to make my own mutants.
Yeah, it's not to segue, but it's the DC Robin problem.
Yeah.
Where like Robin can never age up into being Batman. There's always just more Robins. So suddenly it's like they're all like, you suddenly have 5 characters that are between like 12 and 20, and it's like they used to be like 12 and 20,
yeah,
and now they're all just kind of shoving into the exact same space. So all of the like new X-Men, New Mutants, Wolverine and the X-Men.
So yeah, specifically, I'm remembering all the new characters at the time of Wolverine and the X-Men.
Sure.
And I'm like, there's so many people that they do nothing with, and then I cite one of them who is an X-Men.
Yeah, there's 2 of them in X-Men.
There are 2 of them,
yeah.
But one of them is the one I specifically mentioned.
Sure.
And I also love how matter of fact and blunt Beast is in their regard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also,
and like speaking of Beast, like it all counts. Like Beast mentions the stuff that was going on at the end of X-Force, so this isn't like.
So that, I was just gonna say, like
total
the absolute bitterness and not resentment, but like missing out of this Beast.
Yeah.
When asked a question and his answer is so honest, it's like, oh right.
Yeah. And it's nice. So like, for people who are afraid that the From the Ashes stuff was going to be like a total reboot, like it's not a reboot, it's just a relaunch. Relaunch means it's a new #1, we're slightly changing the tone, everything counted. A reboot is like New 52, where it's like we've completely wiped certain characters' backstories and we are reconceiving what the narrative of these characters is now from square one. So this is just a relaunch. This is...
So, well, yeah, I think that we, Challengers specifically, and other shops in general, have been marketing this to our people wrong.
Yeah?
Like, the email this week, the header was, the From the Ashes era starts now.
Sure.
It's not an era.
Yeah, again, that's the thing that was so, not surprising, but, and I don't want to say disappointing, because I feel like that gives it the wrong connotation, but we had talked about this back when they had first announced kind of what was going to be happening without, I think, a ton of details. And the fear was that they would look at the Krakoan Age as an outlier, or they would look at it and say, well, you can't do another huge change. You've got to kind of reset it for a while, and you can maybe do a huge change in a few years. And that's kind of what this feels like, where they're like, if you take away 2019 through 2024, there's a fairly straight line of what X-Men books are, and this is just the next one in the line. But coming on the heels of something that reinvigorated the franchise and not only brought back a ton of lapsed fans who had grown tired of the standard tropes of an X-Men narrative, and excited a whole bunch of fans who never thought the X-Men franchise was for them, this feels like a necessary but unfortunate miscalculation.
To me, it feels like, visually, everything you just said, this book is for the rest of the people.
Yeah, I guess. I think there's people who are... Like, I don't know another way to say it other than, like, I think the people who came on for the Krakoan Age are probably not going to stay very checked in on this run. I think the people who were around before then are going to stick with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with X-Men #1 that would drive me to stop reading the X-Men books again. And man, I got to tell you, pre-House of X, I was pretty checked out of that franchise. I was not reading it very regularly. The creative teams were not great. The direction wasn't anything I cared about. I kept vaguely aware of it to be able to do my job, but it wasn't anything I enjoyed reading. I enjoyed reading all the Krakoan Age stuff from beginning to end. This, again, I'll keep reading X-Men. Like, specifically Jed MacKay's X-Men. Yeah, again, Stegman not my guy. I don't love the art on it, but the story is enough for me to be able to keep checking it out.
Of the 3 core X books
Mhm.
that they're coming out with, which was the one you were most excited for?
Honestly, Jed McKay's X-Men.
Okay.
Because it felt there's an edge of danger to it that I was excited about. I don't like you. I'm not really super excited about Exceptional X-Men because I don't care about another cast of brand new mutant characters that will only be relevant for 2 years and then will be basically forgotten about until they randomly show up in the background of something, or one of them shows up 10 years later because somebody reading that book right now ends up writing an X-Men book. And Uncanny X-Men, the vibe of it is just like, I get it. Like, it's the Hangout book. It's the X-Men 97 book. Whatever.
Sure.
It's fine.
To me, that says that's the Uncanny X-Men book, which is why it's aptly named.
Right. And so I like David Marquez. I don't think he's going to stick around very long because this is Marvel. I don't think anyone on the launch books is going to be sticking around very long.
I think Carmen Carnero will be around for a while.
Maybe.
I think of the 3 core artists, she's the one who's able to do a monthly book.
We'll see. But the Gail Simone of it all, like, I know people are very excited about that, and that's awesome. I feel like Gail Simone is someone I like the idea of more than I can think of specific books that I've enjoyed by Gail Simone. I'm looking forward to what she's going to do with the book because I like all those characters, and if it's a Hangout book, that's fine. There's not a lot of classic Gail Simone stuff, especially over the last 10 years, that I can really point to and go like, that's what I'm excited about. The stuff I enjoyed from Gail Simone is a long time ago.
I was going to insert a Leaving Megalopolis reference, but I didn't.
For example.
But I feel like earlier in this conversation, you were trying to get me to say something specific.
I don't know that it was.
And I'm going to come back. You said you had a different take on it. And then I just walked away.
Oh, yeah.
But if anybody ever interviews me about comics or the comic book industry, there's a couple of go-to quotes I've been using for years that I've come up with, tenets of the comics industry, if you will.
Did you say David Tennant's?
I did. One of them, and they're well rehearsed and well honed now. One of them is, no matter who you are or what you do, there's a comic book out there you will love, and it's our job to show it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one that's more applicable to this situation is, good art makes a bad story better. Bad art makes a good story worse. I will let X-Men readers decide which one is applicable to X-Men 1.
Yeah, I hope people give the series a chance despite everything we've maybe just said.
I've found out that
I'm very curious what people are going to get out of this, and I'm super prepared for people to tell me they loved it and this is as good as the X-Men have ever been, and I hope there's fans out there who really latch onto this series.
One of the things I was talking to David Harper about, specifically about the new X-Men, is that there seems to be a good buzz for it in our shop. People are excited, people are subscribing, people are ready for it.
Sure. I think there's a lot of curiosity, which is cool.
Regardless of the fact that you and I don't share it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I share their...
You're definitely curious.
I share their curiosity, and that I had told you before, I think to your surprise, that I absolutely plan on reading all of the launch titles, at least for a few months, because I want to understand what those books are and what they're trying to do and who they're for. And I'm always excited to be happily surprised. I want to pick up one of these books and be like, nah, and then finish it and go, oh my God, everyone needs to know about this. I love those times. That happens not often enough for me, but still with regularity.
Sure. In fact, that happened to me with a book coming up that is, we'll get to it later.
Okay.
But it's written by somebody who's writing an X-Men book.
Okay, cool.
And it's not their X book because their X book is bad. We haven't gotten a chance to read that. We've only gotten to read X-Men #1, and only because we have it in the shop now.
I unpacked it on Wednesday.
Yeah, we just can't sell it until this upcoming week, but it came in early because they need to get the books out in time for to be closed for the next 2 days for 4th of July weekend.
PRH did, yes.
That's true. Not anybody that makes Dal's life easier.
Nope. Making my life harder on Sundays and Mondays and maybe Tuesdays.
But I'm also genuinely hopeful for a whole new X universe that gets people excited to buy those books again. And, X sales had trailed off pretty heavily by the end of Krakoa.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say pretty heavily. They had dropped for sure. But our numbers for things like X-Men, Wolverine, X-Force were remarkably stable. Yeah, I mean, there were a few books that just were not clicking, like by their third or fourth iterations. Stuff like Marauders, New Mutants, Captain Britain. But again, like your basic X-Men, X-Men Red, Immortal X-Men, real strong, selling real well.
Well, speaking of the strength of Immortal X-Men, hey Dal, what did you think of Power Fantasy #1?
I really enjoyed Power Fantasy #1 by Kieran Gillen and Casper Weingard. I was not a fan of Wicked and Divine. I just didn't care about pop music.
You're not hip.
In the same way that I wasn't a fan of Phonogram because I don't care about Kieran Gillen's record collection. Certainly the connecting tissue for both of those books was an artist I'm also not super fond of in sequential art. This is Casper Weingard, who I really, really like. I really enjoyed his stuff on Homesick Pilots. I really enjoyed his stuff on All Against All. And I was excited to see what he would do with this, which is kind of Wicked and Divine, but superheroes instead. It's superheroes in the Immortal X-Men, Miracle Man vein. It takes place over decades. It takes place with a gigantic cast that you're only really getting the POV of one character in this one, but you're introduced to like another 2 or 3 in a major sense, and then like another 4 in a minor sense, all of whom have a complicated interconnecting history with each other. So there's a lot of information thrown at you, but I think in the first issue, they manage a very cool problem occurs and character has to solve it dilemma. And the way the problem is resolved is in a way where you're like, oh, all bets are off for this book. Like anything can happen now, and that's a super cool way to start a series in the superhero genre.
And I don't know that we could accurately describe how just inventive that is for a superhero book without telling you specifics, which we're not going to do. But it's also done on a much more intellectual process than a punching process.
The main character for the first issue is basically, what if Chidi from The Good Place was Professor X?
That's a really good way to describe it.
And like that idea of a character concept was like, oh, this is different. This is fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed Power Fantasy #1. I don't know if you looked at the back cover where they put all the Indusha stuff, but there's a bunch of jokes in there.
I did, yeah. Because it's in all different languages.
Yeah.
And he blames Ryan Hughes for a lot of it. Yeah.
He has the Power Fantasy has to do different jokes in every edition because Ryan Hughes put them up to it.
Yeah. But by the way, he designed and laid it all out.
Yeah.
I've actually read
one
issue.
Of the variants as well.
Yeah. He's good. There's
it's an
a book of his right there.
Still, yeah.
We reached out to Ryan Hughes many years ago to redesign the Challengers logo, and he said yes. And then we never followed through on our end.
Yeah.
But I've also read Power Fantasy #2, which Dal has not done.
No, I decided that since I enjoyed issue 1 so much, I don't want to get super far ahead and have to wait months and months for more issues. So I just read issue 1, and I'll read issue 2 when it comes out in print.
And I will only ever read it in PDFs, so I'm always ahead of everybody, so I can feel special.
Oh, I think what you mean to say is you're only going to read 2 issues and then forget to read everything else.
No, I'll track it down in image emails.
Oh, okay.
I will forget to read it when it comes out in print.
Ah, all right.
So are you saying, and I'm putting words in your mouth, but as a question, so I'm only asking, that do you think Power Fantasy is more of a Krakoa continuation or what you would like a new X-Men relaunch to be?
Both, really. Kieran Gillen had said in interviews that Power Fantasy was the book that he would recommend to people who were enjoying Immortal X-Men. It is working in a lot of the same register as Immortal X-Men was, just with brand new characters and with a creator-owned sensibility, which means they can do whatever they want with it. They're not beholden to a corporate oversight of any kind. I certainly...
He's also said in interviews that working on Young Avengers for Marvel And then thinking of what if I could do this without supervision led to Wicked and Divine.
Sure. I can sort of see that.
And this is working on Immortal X-Men led to Power Fantasy.
Right. I don't know that I'd really want to compare X-Men #1 to Power Fantasy #1 because they're really apples and oranges. They're trying to do different things.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to compare them, but I just
No, you didn't. But I mean, taking your question and then kind of extrapolating out to the next logical point. Yeah, it's weird to have read both of those within kind of the same 1 week period because they are each, very much kind of mutant superhero books, but they are doing completely different things. And I think I connected more with Power Fantasy #1 than I did with X-Men #1. But X-Men #1 was a fun monthly superhero comic from a major superhero publisher in a shared universe.
And also, I'm
solid.
Kind of really worried, as your friend, that you relate more to Power Fantasy. I can only imagine which aspect.
Maybe.
Oh no.
Space lasers. Yeah, I enjoyed Power Fantasy #1 quite a bit, and I think FOC for that is this weekend, and we're going to be ordering a lot of copies because while I'm sure we pitched it both in the monthly catalog email, and I don't know if Molly had it in the subscriber emails.
Does it FOC this weekend? It wasn't in the emails.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I assume since they gave us a PDF,
Yeah.
it was
2 PDFs, no less.
I thought, but maybe it's coming up the following week. I don't know.
The big pushes this week were Uncanny X-Men #1,
Okay.
Heretic.
Yeah, I didn't remember seeing it in that email, so maybe it's not this week.
Well, I've also read.
Oh, maybe.
Go on.
So Diamond FOC's Image a week before Lunar does, I think.
Yeah.
So they might have sent out the PDFs now 2 weeks ahead of FOC so that Diamond people can read it before they FOC and then Lunar people can do it the week after.
Fair.
I'm guessing. Maybe that's it.
I've read Nice House by the Sea #1.
That was great.
Oh, you did read it?
I did read it.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, it is such a companion next chapter.
Oh yeah.
Like the premise, and if I assume if you're going to read Nice House by the Sea, you've read Nice House on the Lake.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to have, but you get way more out of it.
You have to. As much as they're trying to pitch this as
a standalone.
Not a brand new cast. It is still absolutely following on from everything that we learned in 12 issues of Nice House on the Lake.
So the premise, and if you haven't read Nice House on the Lake, maybe skip a little bit.
Yeah, here's the spoilers for the first issue.
From Nice House on the Lake, Walter's job was to find 10 people that represent the best of their professions to be part of this society. And I'm really being general, so I'm not giving too much away.
And it's all
only
friends of his.
No. Okay. That was his job.
Right.
He didn't do that. He chose friends of his.
Right. College.
People that he
school,
knew, people that he loved, people that he wanted to be around. Yeah. That wasn't what he was supposed to do. So there are other Walters in other parts of the world who did their job. Nice House by the Sea is about Max, who did her job.
It's a different house.
And a different cast.
Yeah.
Where Max has assembled the best of these professions.
Yeah. One of the things I disliked about Nice House on the Lake is that I felt like the first few issues were promising a conclusion that issue 12 did not deliver in any way. Now that they've been doing essentially a new 12-issue series, I dislike that less. I'm okay with the idea of them.
You know why they couldn't give you what you wanted,
right? Because it was not a 12-issue series; it was the first 12-issue cycle,
right?
Of the what sounds like multi-cycle Nice House series.
So I'm watching Slow Horses on Apple Plus, and there's a spy movie trope that I hate, where when you have bad guys that are killing everybody, but they come across one of our main characters and they just capture them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. These are ruthless killers. Why do they keep this person alive?
Mm-hmm.
And I was angry about it. And I'm like, because this is season 2.
Right.
And there's 3 things they did in season 2. I'm like, this was telegraphed. this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. It all makes sense.
Okay.
There's reasons.
That's good.
There's reasons why
It's good storytelling.
they didn't just kill that person. And I just was too impatient.
Sure. And that happens. I mean, there's ongoing series I've watched where I've been like folding my arms like, you screwed up. This doesn't make sense. 2 episodes later. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But like at the same time, that retroactively doesn't make the previous one better. Like I think one of the problems I'll have sometimes, and I don't know if this is on topic or off topic, but I'm going to keep saying it. One of the things that I always think a show should do when they are like essentially when there's a huge secret or an upcoming reveal or whatever, you have to give the audience a fake out that at the time makes sense.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, all I'm doing watching it is going, no, this doesn't make any sense. And if in an hour or two you're like, here's how it makes sense, I'm still like, but I spent the last hour or two thinking this made no sense. So you tricked me, but you made my viewing experience so much worse. If one of the characters had given it some bullshit cover, I'd been like, oh, okay, sure. And then in 2 hours, I'm like, oh no! Oh, that's so much cooler!
In watching School Spirits, which is a basically high school goth murder mystery, they really, like, early on, they give you a heavy suspect.
Mm-hmm.
But you're like, it's way too early in the series. This can't be the person.
Right.
But they just keep giving you other suspects
Mm-hmm.
as you go, and you realize it could be anybody.
Right.
And then each time, like, they're like, okay, they're leaning too hard on this person, so it's obviously not them. Is it
Right.
obviously not them? So the obvious answer is always just be patient, let the storytellers tell their story.
It is, yeah.
And because it's still the same artist on Nice House by the Sea, it's still gorgeous.
Yeah. And it's actually more gorgeous than the last few
Yeah.
issues of Nice House, which were
It's
super rushed.
more idyllic and more of the setting. It's more
Yeah. This
architectural. It's more
is like a European seaside
resort.
village almost. So it's way more picturesque as opposed to, you know, the kind of woods lake vibe of Nice House by the Lake.
Yeah.
Nice House on the Lake. That's the thing I always have to keep reminding myself is it's Nice House by the sea, Nice House on the lake. You're on a lake and by a sea.
Was it on the lake or at the lake? On the lake?
Nice House on the lake.
It's weird though, because the house wasn't on a lake; it was by the lake.
Right.
Like this one is by
Maybe
the
the
sea.
third one is Nice House at the ocean.
I was going to assume it had to be a body of water.
Nice House in the river.
I was gonna say
it's
nice.
a riverboat.
I was going to say nice house in the canal. Nice villa in, oh man, what's the Italian city that's only water?
Venice.
Yeah, nice villa
Mhm.
in Venice.
I think the final one is Nice House on Fire.
Yeah, nice house by the sea, very good.
Yeah.
And Nice House by the Lake was a consistent seller all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really good. It's kind of the stuff you liked about Nice House on the Lake, but with like a bunch of cool extra twists. So it really does feel like issue 13 of an ongoing series more than it does issue 1 of a completely separate book.
Yeah. And this whole new cast of characters, they don't know each other from the past. They don't have to be friends.
Yeah, again, this isn't like, you know, one guy's group of friends over like a 10-year period. So some of them know each other from a long time ago. Some of them just met. Some of them are the spouses or partners of people who are in this friend group. This is like just 10 super exceptional people who do not have much in common and do not necessarily like each other.
Okay, I read Absolute Power books.
Okay.
I read Origins #1 and Task Force 7 #2. I read #2 because they did not give us
Sure.
#1.
So for people who don't know, Origins is the Amanda Waller one.
Yes.
And Task Force 7 is all of the different Amazo robots that have the Justice League's powers. Each one is a different, like, it's 7 one-shot issues, basically.
With different
by
creators.
different creative teams featuring different superhero characters fighting them.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of them is like Shazam. The other one is, I can't remember who else.
Aquaman.
Aquaman's.
So I try never to be this negative when we're talking about new books coming up, because
Oh gosh.
ultimately we've ordered them. We want people to buy them.
Well, we didn't order a lot of these.
No one needs to read Absolute Power Origins.
Okay.
It's Amanda Waller's origin, her history, which is retroactively completely tied into. Hey, do you remember Jewel or Jessica Jones?
I do.
And do you remember Silk?
I do.
What do they have in common?
They knew Peter Parker back in the day.
And their origins are tied to his.
Yes.
Silk specifically.
Yeah.
Directly.
I don't think she knew Peter Parker, but she was there when it happened.
The same spider bit her.
But like Jessica went to his high school.
Yeah.
And had a crush on him, which was super awkward later in the Avengers.
So Amanda Waller's origin is now.
Was she in Crime Alley?
She wasn't in Crime Alley because she's.
Jesus.
But she's tied directly to Batman's origin.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like
basically, she was a child. I'm assuming she's the same age as Bruce Wayne now.
Uh-huh.
So his story parallels her story,
Jesus
but it mirrors. So she's the mirror image of his story.
No, that's Hush. One of the dumbest things in the classic 1989 film Batman is the idea that the Joker has to be the guy who murdered Bruce Wayne's parents so that it's personal for Bruce Wayne. It doesn't have to be personal for these villains. They can just be villains. Like, Amanda Waller doesn't need to have like a deep-seated secret reason why she's against superheroes. She's a government functionary who thinks superheroes don't listen to the law. And also, she wants power. Like, her motivation ever since Suicide Squad has been fairly coherent. And also, the thing that made her a character that stuck around for like 30 years.
But why, Dal?
Oh my
why
God.
did she want all those things?
Like, it doesn't make it better.
Why is she against superheroes? Why does she want power?
She hates superheroes because Superman's rocket, like, crashed into her childhood home and killed her parents. Like, who cares? Like, this is irrelevant. You're making it worse.
I think we'll move on.
Okay.
Kill All Immortals comes out this upcoming week.
Hey, I read that too.
Have we talked about you reading it?
No.
Because I was gonna.
You were surprised that I said I was going to.
Yeah.
You read it a while ago. I think.
Yeah, because I just read number.
It was rescheduled.
I just read number 2,
mm-hmm.
And the pitch for that is John Wick meets Succession with Immortal Vikings,
mm-hmm.
and I think that is basically dead on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really just like Immortal Viking Succession, basically.
Yeah.
I think you could take away the John Wick part of it.
I think the John Wick is the action.
Sure.
There's a lot of action and violence.
The less of it than you think there would be.
Well, I read 2.
Okay. I mean, issue 1, there's an opening sequence and kind of a late book sequence, but most of it is just, it's the Succession part of it. It's trying to explain, like, this immortal Viking family and what their goals are and what each member of the family is kind of jockeying position to do or not do.
Oh, here's the thing I wanted to say earlier about X-Men, but I never did.
Okay.
House of X, Powers of 10.
Yes.
Pepe Larraz.
Yeah.
R.B. Silva.
Yes.
That Mark Brooks teaser
mm-hmm.
poster.
Yep.
Ryan Stegman.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
I think Kill All Immortals was a lot of fun. I think it's a good-looking book. I like the art a lot.
That was the part I didn't really connect with.
Really?
I didn't really like the art.
Oh.
There's a few sequences where it's like, you're using a lot of shadow here, and I think it's because you didn't want to draw the rest of this panel.
It was at night, Dal.
I mean, I think it's at night because I want to draw a lot of that stuff. It's moody in a way that I don't think it necessarily needed, and I felt like it veered more into muddy than moody. But I thought the concept is strong. I don't know if it's something I would stick around with, but I think there's people who would really enjoy it for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
I thought you would not care for it. So it's good to see that you don't not care for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't dislike it.
All right, I think I'm going to wind down with the books I've read while talking about one, unfortunately, I know you haven't read.
Mm-hmm.
Red Before Black, #1. It is a new crime book from Boom written by Stephanie Phillips,
Who's doing the upcoming Phoenix book?
right? And that's what I was referencing earlier in this episode.
Yep.
And it is drawn by the second best known Y the Last Man artist,
Goran Sudzuka or Goran Parlov?
Goran Parlov is Punisher, right? I trailed off when I was doing this to have Dal fill in the blanks because he remembers artist names better than me.
I mean, I think I remember two, but I don't know which of them actually worked on the book.
Right.
Anyway,
Anyway,
Goran Sudzuka.
yeah. So the art's real good. One of the things that I love about the art is while dialogue scenes or exposition is happening, the characters are doing other things.
Yeah.
Like they're not just looking at each other talking, like they're swirling the drink in their glass or they're playing with something in their hands.
Mhm.
There's
something visually going on the
yes.
page.
Yes. And
It's nice.
it's a clever book. It's a funny book that there's a lot of fun captions whenever new characters are introduced.
Oh, nice.
And it takes place in Florida. It is
Oh, that's too bad.
I mean that's part of it. Like
I know.
that's a main part of the story.
I'm saying that because I'm also from
no,
Florida.
no, but also the It's Too Bad is part of it.
Sure.
Yeah, they play into that.
Florida got a lot of problems.
And it's definitely you can feel that Stephanie's using her time on Harley Quinn
Oh, great. Okay.
in the book. There's a side character who's very much filling that kind of a role.
Mhm.
But it's a smart, clever, funny book. I think it is my favorite Stephanie Phillips book
Oh, cool.
thus
Okay.
far.
Excellent.
And it always like oh, you know what? I read Profane 2 today.
Oh, okay.
It actually it gets better
It would have to.
because it's
super
now
mean to say, but I'll say it.
well, it's supernatural because the fiction characters can cross into nonfiction,
Okay.
but it's still high concept
Mhm.
Batman solving Bob Kane's murder kind of
Sure.
concept. But anyway, there's been a lot of recent boom books that are easy to get behind,
Sure.
and Red Before Black is one of them.
That's great. Is that FOC this week? Probably.
I don't know. As someone who doesn't FOC, I don't pay attention as much.
I'm going to assume.
No. The reason I have it is because Stephanie sent it to me.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, I would have
Yeah,
read that. I don't remember seeing that in any of the
come from
emails.
Boom.
Ha ha ha.
And the only thing I haven't read that's open on my desktop right now
Yeah.
is another Stephanie Phillips book, Anna Brian Azzarello book, Life,
Oh,
Pros and Cons from
yeah.
Distillery. So I have that to get to, but I just haven't done it. But yeah, Red Before Black, I recommend for sure people add it to their list.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And because we have the Power Fantasy poster up on the back door,
Mhm.
we had someone subscribe to today.
Yeah, that's one I feel like we're going to get a lot of for issue 1. I hope
Yeah.
they stick around. Sometimes there's books that I feel like no one's ordered, and I order what I think is a ton, and then that ends up barely lasting a weekend. Zatanna, Bring Down the House, number 1.
Yeah, that's an interesting one to have sold out of.
We didn't have a ton of pre-orders. I ordered what I felt like was a very aggressive number. Sold like crazy. Just like crazy.
Do you think it's because the front cover was just her butt?
I mean, I think all the covers were good. We sold out of every cover. I think we sold out of proportionally. We sold out of the main cover by Javier Rodriguez, probably the fastest, faster than like the Artgerm cover. Or
That's because that was
whatever
the
else.
butt cover.
Yeah, the butt cover.
Well, look, this was an exceptionally new comic heavy episode of the podcast, which is a thing that we don't normally do.
Mhm.
But it's mainly because I actually took notes for all of the books that I read
That helps.
this week, and it was
Also, again, it was a holiday week, so like there's not a lot of big news happening in industry that we needed to talk about.
11. So much so that when I met up with my brother yesterday on the 4th of July and we were trading our
Stacks of books.
folders of books that we've read, I just gave him an empty one because I knew he'd need one because he was just giving me his, but his
Sure.
was full on. And he's like, "You didn't read anything this week?" I'm like, "I did, but none of it was a physical book.
Yeah,
It's all advanced PDFs."
it happens.
So yeah, so not our normal episode, but hopefully there is still plenty of things to glean from it,
Hope so.
and
We still talk business.
hopefully there were no sounds of lawn mowing
Yeah.
that came through.
Well, it's nighttime now.
So read comics and go to bed. Also brush your teeth. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.